Hi, it's your favorite startup founder, Sydney Madison Prescott, and welcome to Mirror Mirror, a startup founder's peek behind the mirror. Great to have you here and can't wait for you to hear the latest episode. On today's episode, I want to talk about greed. And more specifically, I want to talk about what it takes for big tech to, in essence, suck the life out of humanity with these ideas and ideologies that are pervasive, inhumane, and I will be honest, borderline insane. It comes down to what is the motivation when you think about becoming a technologist and an inventor. What is the motivation behind that need, that desire to invent something, to bring something into the world? What is the motivation behind becoming a technologist? And right now in 2025, for I would say the vast majority of technologists, inventors, and startup founders, the motivation is the money. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be, disillusioned and say, oh, money doesn't matter. We live in a capitalist society, late stage capitalism, which is, I would say, even worse than when capitalism began, because now the thirst, the desire, the greed for capital has reached, I would say, we're probably looking at the pinnacle. We're probably at the pinnacle. We're not quite there, I would say, but we're close. We're close to the pinnacle of what greed and the attainment of capital looks like in a given society. I would posit that. And I would go even further to say, because we are in late stage capitalism, the question is, do I think it's realistic to ask technologists, startup founders, inventors, I will be honest, humanity in general, any individual, to negate the need for capital, the desire for the accumulation of capital in the pursuit of a greater good? And that greater good can be many things. It can be I'm in pursuit of enhancing the happiness of the majority of humanity. I'm in the pursuit of enhancing the health of the majority of humanity. I am in pursuit of enhancing the intelligence, the critical thinking skills of the majority of humanity. Do I think that it's realistic to seek out individuals that are looking for, I'll say, a more ethical way to impact society outside of capital? No, I don't. I don't think it's realistic given where we are as a society. Again, in this given moment in human history, knowing that we are deeply entrenched in late stage capitalism, it is highly unrealistic to believe that anybody would be in the pursuit of anything outside of gaining more capital. However, I do think this is probably the 1% of startup founders and technologists. I do think there is probably 1%, that's just an estimation, so don't quote me, but I do believe there's about 1% of technologists, startup founders, inventors that are pursuing something else as a goal, as an objective for creation outside of the attainment of capital. And when I look at artificial intelligence specifically, and the way that it has the potential to, I'll say, manifest certain emotions, certain desires, certain modalities of thought in human beings. And I think about that, and I think about what I was just talking about, that the majority of technologists and startup founders are primarily induced into a desire to create because they are pursuing the attainment of a gross amount of capital. And I don't want to act holier than thou. I do have a personal objective to become the world's first solo founder billionaire. However, I want that for a very specific reason, because I want to be the world's first solo founder billionaire who is also an ethicist, meaning that I will use my capital in ethical ways for the benefit of society. That is the onus behind why I want that out of my pursuit of my startups. And then when I dive deeper into my specific startups, what is the goal that I am seeking, the objective that I want to reach with Mirror Mirror, my fashion tech startup, which is a mobile application. It's going to be iOS, Android, an AI fashion stylist named Dorota, and a hardware device, which is an AI powered smart mirror. Why am I creating those things, and what do I want? I want human beings to find the synergy between individualism, clothing, I'll say even deeper, personal style, and mental health. That's what I'm seeking. I am seeking a holistic approach to making getting dressed every single day one of the most compelling events of your entire day. And compelling not in we are trying to get you to buy a bunch of crap that you don't need to fill up your closet and then eventually fill up landfills, which then negatively impacts the environment. We're not talking about that. I believe, this is my hypothesis, that I can create a world. And, if you know me, I'm all about world building. That is my shit. I believe that I can create the world of Mirror Mirror. And in that world, you will find for the first time in your life a place where your individuality is not only celebrated, but amplified. And as a result of your individuality being amplified and celebrated, your mental health will improve over time. That's my hypothesis, and that's the world that I am building. When I think about Adriatic Harvest, my agriculture tech company, we are going to be building 3D flavor capsules, which will enable us to, in essence, infuse botanicals directly into beehives while the bees are producing honey, so that in essence, we are pursuing I will say, the dance of flavor profiles and flavor infusion during the life cycle of the honey, so it's creation of flavor while the honey is actually being produced by the bees, rather than the creation of the flavor post-production of the honey. It's also looking at wine barrels and saying, can we do something more sustainable here? Can we create 3D printed wine barrels that will still infuse the wine with the flavors that we want, that we typically get from oak aged barrels and other wood? And can we do it in such a sustainable way where those 3D printed barrels will still allow us this beautiful, rich flavor in the wine but it also enables us to say we are creating wine in a more sustainable way without sacrificing the flavor of the wine that we are used to as consumers of wine. And the other piece is for our olive oil. It's the same thing. Can we create these beautiful, richly enhanced flavors where we can infuse flavor into the olive oil, and you can do it in a way where it makes it almost this magical experience for you as a consumer of the olive oil right in your kitchen. And then even further, when we talk about farmers, can we help farmers to better understand their crops, the potential negative impact of different environmental factors, whether it's pests, whether it's the weather, whether it is climate change, whether it is the negative impact of different water resources, the soil, the aeration of the soil, the nutritional elements within the soil. Can we help scientists with an AI predictive model to not only scientists, can we help more directly, can we help farmers to understand their crops in a way that is cellular? And again, this is all about, can we work in harmony with nature while nature is producing its bounty, instead of waiting after the bounty is produced and then starting to manipulate it as humans? And so when I think about, those are the things that I'm pursuing as a startup founder of Mirror Mirror, which is my fashion tech AI startup, and Adriatic Harvest, which is my agriculture tech AI powered startup. I want to fundamentally shift the way that humanity interacts with different components in nature, and how humanity impacts and infuses and interacts with themselves as a result of what my companies will build. And what I am hoping is that the capital that I gain as a result of these inventions being positively accepted by the Mirror Mirror community, by the Adriatic Harvest community, is that I can then accumulate capital, which gives me real power in the world to help others, to end. If I am a billionaire, I have many, many thoughts around how I could conceivably impact poverty in America in such a way where I could reduce it to a significant amount. I have a conceptualization. This goes back to my philosophy degree in undergrad and my thesis where I wrote about parental licensing and the equalization of opportunity. And it was basically, my theory was that we can positively impact the trajectory of individual lives, which then allows the equalization of opportunity at an earlier stage in an individual's life by interacting with, I'll say, parents when they realize they are going to be a parent, and in essence thwarting child maltreatment in a proactive way by identifying individuals that are more at risk to commit child maltreatment, in order to give them tools where they can ideally avoid ending up enacting child maltreatment on their child. And then as a result, that child has a higher likelihood of being able to, in essence, flow through life in a way where they don't have PTSD. They don't have PTSD directly from childhood. They don't have anxiety issues, depression issues, anger issues, issues with authority as a result of childhood traumas coming from child maltreatment. And when I think about that, even that thesis, which, it took me 2 years of researching and writing, and you can find my thesis online. It's called The Cerebus, Parental Licensing and the Equalization of Opportunity. And what I hope is that I can also start interacting with lawmakers and really make an impact on really committing to how can we decrease the likelihood of child maltreatment in society. And these are the things that I think about. Like when I think about why am I a startup founder? Why am I creative? Why am I an inventor? It's because I look at society and I see so many things that have gone wrong. I see so many people that are hurting. I see so many people that are struggling in their lives. I see so many people that sadly do not want to be here anymore because their life has just been so chaotic and depressing and oppressive and traumatic that they feel as if there's no point in their existence. And I want to change that. And so when I go back to why are people startup founders? Why are people creatives? Why do they want to do this? All I can think is there anyone else out there like me who is pursuing this because they have experienced the darkness of life when you have been around or negatively impacted by people who are not ethical, people who mistreat children, who mistreat other adults. And you say, I know the negative impact that those circumstances, situations, and individuals had on my life, and I never want to see anyone else's life impacted the way that mine was. And so because of that, I'm going to make my life's work the creation of inventions, of technological advances, of we'll say philosophical ideas that I can manifest into the world, that I can help to change in some form or fashion in a positive way the trajectory of humanity. And that's a big statement to make. But look at the polar opposite. We have individuals inside of, it's everywhere from X to Meta, talking about they want to change the trajectory of society, but they want to change it in a way that only benefits them. You have Grok creating these AI avatars and personalities where they're so psychologically manipulative that children could potentially have sexual conversations with the AI avatar. And there are no guardrails. And that is purposefully done. Let's be very clear. That is purposefully done. There are guardrails that they could put up. But the bigger question is why is it that particular use case, the use case of creating an AI agent that is sexually explicit, that is also, in essence, preying on human frailty in the realm of sexuality, sexual desire. Why was that a use case? Because it was. In order to create an avatar where the avatar is provocative and suggestive, the use case was human desire for physical and psychological comfort and companionship exist. How can we tap into that from our vantage point to enable us to get higher subscription rates, extend the longevity of subscription rates of subscribers and the average lifetime spend, right, of your users. And you do that by tapping into, I will say, biologically sound principles where if the majority of humans on planet Earth have a desire for physical and psychological companionship, if you tap into that, that's a potential vertical from a financial standpoint that could make billions of dollars. So that is the onus for the creation of these AI avatars. The same thing with Meta. Meta has had so many ethical call outs, so many, I mean, everything from going in front of Congress to the EU finding them. They're still in court in the EU over privacy violations, ethical violations. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, knowing that they purposefully manipulated the psychology of young adults, specifically teenage girls, because they knew that there are moments of psychological weakness depending on what you see and hear visually and audibly, where in that psychological moment of weakness, we as a company, we meaning Meta, we can take advantage of that that psychological weakness, and we can use it to our advantage to get you to buy something, to subscribe to something, to use something. And all of that goes back to the accumulation of capital. So we have to get to, and this is a very, I will say this is a very, this is going to take a long time to get to, and this is the ideal. We have to get to a place as a society where we recognize and regularly call out the abuse of human psyche, human nature, to accumulate capital. Now that premise is diametrically opposed to capitalism itself as a concept, because capitalism itself, especially late stage capitalism, we are at the point where everything is a commodity. Everything, human emotions, human bodies, physical bodies, human services, human goods, literally everything is a commodity. Everything. Water is a commodity. The sun, electricity coming from, the star known as the sun is a commodity. Being able to create that electricity with solar energy. Pretty much everything is a commodity. And so the question is, at the point where everything is a commodity, what are the ethical ramifications of that? If everything is a commodity, then do the ends justify the means? Meaning, if everything is a commodity and my goal is the pursuit of capital, then could I justify almost anything in pursuit of the attainment of capital, in pursuit of the wealth that society tells me I should want to attain as a quote unquote productive member of society? It's a very, very hard question. Can you have a society that is deeply entrenched in late stage capitalism and still have some modicum of ethics that specifically inventors, creatives are abiding by? And I don't know the answer to that. I would posit that the answer is no, because you could, as I just said, you could argue that the ends justifies the means, meaning whatever I have to do in attainment of capital and the accumulation of capital is deemed acceptable because my goal is the accumulation of capital. How I accumulate that capital, there is no rule saying that I have to do that ethically. And that's the place that we're at today. We see all of these, whether it's technologists, big tech, they are hinging their hopes on this premise that, I'm willing to do anything. I'm being big tech. I'm willing to do anything for the accumulation of capital. And if that includes selling sexually provocative AI avatars to minors, then so be it. And this is a sad, sad reality that we live in today. And this is why I keep stressing so much that we need more women, more people of color, more religious people, more philosophers, more ethicists in technology, because at this point, technology is driving humanity either forwards into a brighter future or backwards into a future which is this hyper stylized, futuristic, quote unquote, reality, which is bordering on some sort of archaic premises where it's just the wild, wild west. And that is what AI, artificial intelligence, and the use of artificial intelligence today in big tech and in society feels like. It feels like an archaic wild, wild west where you have these privileged white men who are creating abominations. I mean, you're creating AI models for Vogue and for other fashion magazines and fashion brands and publications that do nothing more than replicate the sexist principles that today are a primary cause of a lot of the psychological harms that are being pushed onto women and children and minorities. You have AI hyper stylized avatars and I'll say agents, and that they are starting to push as you can have a romantic relationship with it. But meanwhile, there are no barriers to entry when it comes to assessing whether somebody is psychologically sound enough to have a romantic relationship with an AI agent. And furthermore, whether they are not only emotionally sound, but also are they of age? Are they a minor where their brain is still developing? We know that your frontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. So we have a problem here. We have a problem with the way that big tech and the tech bros, and specifically, the primary demographic of engineers right now, which are, white privileged men creating these abominations. And we have to get to a point where we're like, when are the voices of reason going to come into the picture? When are we going to say enough is enough? And we have got to start thinking about the ethical ramifications of the pursuit of capital by any means necessary through technological innovation. And I would warn you that when you hear of, Meta and ByteDance, which is TikTok, and X and Grok and their AI agent, they talk about the selling point, the marketing point is we're going to help you to not be so lonely. We're going to help you to be smarter. So it's always, we're going to help you attain something that society deems as valuable. And the question you need to ask is, but at what expense? Is it going to be at the expense of my sanity? Is it going to be at the expense of my IQ and being able to continuously improve and continuously learn throughout the trajectory of my life? Is it going to be at the expense of my dignity? Is it going to be at the expense of my self-worth? Because if that's the case, I as an individual need to have a quote unquote come to Jesus moment where I say, is it worth it? And I need to do a cost benefit analysis on, is this going to be worth it? Is that age old, kind of metaphor that we have of, you gain the whole world at the price of your soul. And so what are we gaining when we open up ourselves, our personal data, our personal lives, our psyche, our emotional health, our mental health, our physical health even, to big tech and the goods and services that they are pushing on us, knowing that behind the scenes, they are intentionally creating addictive algorithms to get you to stay inside of the platforms for longer. to negate your own health and well-being in order to satiate the need to have as many concurrent active users on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, where they can then push all the ads, and then that increases ad sales, and then that brings in revenue, and then also constantly pushing you to buy things on the platform, all these TikTok shop and Instagram, you can buy stuff on there, and it just gets to a point where it's like all they are doing is pursuing you in order to suck as much as they can out of you. And what are you getting in return? Do a cost-benefit analysis of the platforms that you are touching, that you are interacting with, and really, truly ask yourself, is my life better off because I am using this platform? And I want you to do that exact same exercise when you interact with the Mirror app, when you interact with the Mirror artificial intelligence personality, our fashion stylist named Dorota, when you interact with the AI-infused smart mirror hardware device. I want you to ask, is my life better off when I am inside of the Mirror app, when I am talking to Dorota, when I am standing in front of the AI smart mirror in my bedroom? And is my life better off? Do I feel mentally satiated, not just in the short term, but in the long term? Am I going to look back at my use of these goods and services, and am I going to regret it? I want you to ask that question when you use Mirror. I want you to ask that question when you drink, eat the products that Adriatic Harvest has, when you as a farmer or a scientist interact with the Mirror IQ module, which is going to tell you all of those predictive analytics about your soil, the water, the environment, pests, etc., about your crops. Is your life, and in both Mirror and in Adriatic Harvest, is the environment better off as a result of using these tools? And if the answer is no, then I genuinely hope two things. One, I hope that you will vocalize that. And two, I hope that you will cease to use the platforms, because that is who I am as a startup founder and as a technologist, as an engineer. I don't want to create something that is going to harm people. And I should say also as a philosopher, because that is what I am classically trained in. My degree is in philosophy. With a focus on ethics and political science. So my goal is, if I cannot create something to better someone's life, then I'm not creating anything. So I will close this out with, I am very concerned about the manipulative tactics that big tech is using to convince everyone that you don't have a choice. AI is going to be here and you better get used to it and you better use it. You do have a choice. So there's a few things. One, you do have a choice whether or not you use AI. They're trying to push you, well, you're not going to have a choice. If you don't use it, you're going to be outdated and you're not going to be able to have a job. And then you're not going to be able to make money for yourself. And then you're not going to be able to survive. And then you're going to be homeless. That entire chain of thought is, number one, illogical. Number two, manipulative. And number three, it is highly presumptive of AI being this all-knowing, all-seeing, end-all, be-all of society. They are positing that as the only future that humanity has, because that enables them to continue to retain the power that they have, and not only retain it, but increase it exponentially. It is not a done deal that AI is going to be infused into every single facet of our lives. That is not a done deal at all. Furthermore, even if, let's say hypothetically, AI is going to be infused into every single second of our lives from cradle to the grave, that does not mean that we have to accept unethical goods and services that are infused with AI. We should actually, if AI is infused into every single second, minute, hour of our day for our entire lives, we should be demanding more of the goods and services that are infused with AI, that are integrated with AI, because of the fact that they have such a potential to be highly detrimental to our physical and mental well-being. We really need to be asking more of these platforms. And the other thing that I would say is, who is controlling these platforms? When you have these rich white men who have never seen a day of struggle in their lives, and they are creating these platforms to enhance the attainment of their own personal capital at the behest also of shareholders for the companies that are publicly traded, and also investors. Even if you're not publicly traded, you still have to answer to your investors and potentially answer to a board. The question becomes, should I turn over my entire future from an AI perspective and infusion of AI into my life on a minute by minute basis to someone who is privileged, who does not understand my life, my challenges, the ramifications of being a woman living in a patriarchal society, the ramifications of being a woman, having to navigate through misogyny on a daily basis, the ramifications of not only being a woman, but a woman of color, navigating through immense prejudice that is brought on not only by my gender, but also by my race. There's so many questions there. And I believe we are quickly coming to an inflection point where, if we do not demand ethicists and philosophers to take the front stage and take a step forward to really help ascertain whether or not these platforms are ethically permissible for human flourishing, we are going to be in deep trouble. So I hope that you found some great kind of ideas, thoughts, that it brought up a lot of things for you, just thinking about AI and the future and ethics in society as a result of this conversation. If you love the conversation, please like and follow me. My name is Sydney Madison Prescott. I am a technologist. I'm an engineer by trade and a philosopher by education, with a focus on ethics. And I am building Mirror Mirror, which is a fashion tech startup. And I am also building Adriatic Harvest, which is an ag tech startup. And I hope that you follow the journey. Please follow me on social media. Sydney and the City is my handle. Please follow Mirror Mirror on social media. Typically, our handle is Mirror Mirror or the Mirror Mirror app. And also, please follow Adriatic Harvest. And Adriatic Harvest handle is just Adriatic Harvest. Please also follow me on my website. It's www.sydneymadisonprescott.com, and also the websites of Mirror Mirror. The Mirror Mirror website is www.themirrormirrorapp.com. We are open. We have a wait list that is open. The app, the minimum viable product, or the MVP, will be dropping at the end of fall 2025. And I need as many people on the wait list as possible. So please go to my social media, go to Mirror Mirror social media, go to my website or the Mirror Mirror website and sign up for the Mirror Mirror wait list. You'll be the first on the list to interact with Dorota, our AI fashion stylist, interact with the features of the app. And it's really going to just give you a chance to ascertain what it is to really interact with an app that takes your mental health and your well-being as a priority. And also, last but not least, Adriatic Harvest. Adriatic Harvest has a website. It's www.adriaticharvest.com. And this conversation has left me wanting more from a philosophical standpoint. And I can't wait to dive into deeper conversations around the ethics of technology and engineering, the privilege that is currently negatively impacting big tech, and my startups, Mirror and Adriatic Harvest, and my pursuit of being the world's first solo founder billionaire with a completely ethical lens and focus. So with that, I will sign off. Can't wait to hear your comments about this episode. Please like, follow, and comment. And, I'll sign off with my standard. Let's get to freaking work.